Deleted session, November 27th, 1973. Rob noted, tonight's session was an effort to complete the truncated session of last night. They said good evening. Now we will begin again. There is an excellent book called The Nectar of Personal Reality. It will help many. It will help the two of you particularly, because your personal realities are so involved in it. That is, it will if you read it. We are starting anew, and again this time, I will not hold another session for you unless you follow what I say this evening. You are to begin the book together, making notations as what I say applies personally, and together, each of you following through with the exercises given. You want results, so, at the very least, a 1/2 hour a day is to be used for this purpose, and when you have the time, an hour. Before any time-consuming exercises are given, however, read the book together and discuss it as it applies. Earlier this evening, you were discussing your beliefs, and the beliefs is the name of the game. The exercises will serve you as well as Ruber. In this situation, two are involved, and therapy must involve each of you. Your own creativity will be vastly improved, and the exercises dealing with feelings will be invaluable to both of you. You live in private yet joint realities. Ruber has chosen his, and you have chosen that his reality be involved with yours. Ruber is not simply stuck with a bunch of symptoms, and you are not stuck just with a wife who has problems. The work with the book is to supersede any other suggestions I have given in the past for you. It has prime priority. Reading it and following the exercises will initiate your own inner and outer motion. Now give us a moment. You are financially secure. Ruber's classes will not suffer despite appearances. Rob noted the energy crisis. They said much of what I said that evening applied to you, Joseph. Ruber, so sensitive to your moods, and being self-conditioned to some extent himself negatively, reacted. He wanted to help you, and felt powerless to a large extent. Your decision not to go to Florida had little to do with the energy crisis. You were both loath to leave your work behind, and to allow yourselves the legs freedom. You wanted to get on with your own work, and to wait for the proofs of my book. You felt guilty at the thought of enjoying yourself so soon after your mother's death. You felt some self-punishment, denying yourself the trip to make up for what you felt you might have done for her in the past. Ruber was already leery of putting his physical condition to the test of the trip, and so easily acquiesced, worried also that perhaps he would lose out on aspects that was already contracted for. Both of you have kept yourselves uneasy in your environment lest you become too comfortable. You concentrate upon the annoyances of your neighbors lest you become too close to them and emotionally involved and touched. You have lived here some years yet purposely avoided thinking of it, this apartment, as anything but transitory, that you put down roots and become involved in ways that might distract you from your work and purposes. Give us a moment. You do not buy much furniture, so that the idea of being transitory is more convincing. At the same time, you stay where you are, so you can work, while denying yourself the sense of ease that you could otherwise enjoy. Rob noted to me. They said, you imagine a quiet home in the country, the dream in that regard in your mind, knowing full well you have no intentions of using valuable time to mow grass, fix pipes, or tend to furnaces. So you laugh at Leonard, who does so here. At the same time, you think, for several reasons, that at your age you should have a house, privacy to work, a way even of proving to your brothers that you have as much as they. Robert instead sees a trailer by the ocean, with each of you writing and painting. His vision, because that establishment requires no housekeeping and a small cash outlay. You have done neither, because in your present situation, you have some contact with people, minimum upkeep, and all of this represents a passing acquaintance with the world at large. You are in the establishment and yet not in it. Give us a moment. You both are so afraid of being tied down, however, that even in the apartment you did not allow yourselves really to feel at home, to buy your furniture, cheap or expensive. You love and hate family, precisely as Robert does. He because he never really had one, and you because you did. A house in town reminds you each of family living, and you of your neighborhood. At the same time, for all your protest, Rob noted to me. They said apartment noises are comforting. You interpret them as conflicts. They remind you of the noises in your family home, conflicting and yet comforting. You rail at them, railing at your parents' arguments. To Robert, the sounds are reassuring. He is not alone with his mother anymore. Each of you sees buying a house now as a threat. Though you are at times tempted, you have always seen family life yourself as a threat to artistic production, and the first thing you would do if you had a house would be to build a studio outside of it. You did not want children. Whatever methods Robert chose to ensure that you were childless, you proclaimed with joy, glad that you were not the woman. Some of the symptoms then were indeed to ensure your joint work integrity. You identified as a child whose presence betrayed his father. Your father being forced to support you, particularly in the depression. Robert, as you know, had his own reasons. Robert's relative immobility kept him childless. You were turned off physically often, or he was not able to perform when you were not turned off. Your father was inventive. His creativity in that line you felt dwarfed by family responsibility. Your creativity would not be. You chose a woman. Rob noted, beside reincarnational reasons which you will finally be given one day. They said, who would not bear children, and who would have as strong a commitment as your own. You would not be tempted toward conventionality, for your woman was not conventional. She would keep you from whatever leanings you might have had in that direction. She could be counted upon not to praise you toward the world's ways. Now, the other side of the picture. Robert sought you out for much the same reasons, with reincarnational background to be given, but Robert was the female. You would not bear any child, so the effort had to be strong on his part. Thoughts of buying a house threw both of you into a quandary, because they directly come in conflict with your private ideas about your work and purposes, and your places in the world. Give us a moment. Your ideas of rustic simplicity do not match your feelings about dedication to work. Robert's idea of owning a house do not match his ideas of dedication to work. That is why his interpretation is a trailer. Both ideas are idealized, sentimentalized, and distorted in your minds, and either could be incorporated in your ideas of work if you were aware of the conflicts. You have never allowed yourself creative, decorating freedom here, for example, and thus denied yourself considerable satisfaction. Now, the working is directly involved with all of this, with the ideas of either buying a house or going to Florida, and what these issues involve in line with your current beliefs as given. Your mother's death makes Robert want to go further inward for more answers. At the same time, he is trying to make altered decisions. Now, we can only get so much through in an evening. I will continue this at your earliest convenience. But begin at once as given with the book, and the understanding, I hope, you will achieve from this session. I bid you a fond good evening, but unless you do what I have said, and until you do, we will not have another private session, for you will not be ready for it. I know you will be. Just said, I hope so.